research language. Now, this research language uh, contain two components, and here is the components: writing plagiarism-free research articles, and second one is related to research language selection of the words for writing research article. Okay, so for writing research articles, we need to think about many things. And so today we'll be focusing on the part. Let me take the laser pointer. We'll be talking this about writing plagiarism-free research article. Okay, this will be covered in the paper. So let me go to directly into that component in the slides. So 37. Okay, here we go. So this is the part fifth part, writing plagiarism-free research articles. So you already talked about 2FP, and their P means that was the plagiarism. And we talk about a lot in that session. And let me remind little bit again in different way. Okay. So what do you mean by plagiarism? It's basically stealing the another's idea or work without permission or acknowledgement. So when you are taking any idea or results or any components without acknowledgement, that's considered as a plagiarism. Okay, so you need to be very careful, as we already talked about, right? And what are those plagiarism could be fall in that category? It could be copying large part of someone's cell works, copying even the small portion of the works, okay, with unfair means, right? Or it could be a crudely copying idea and retelling of another work without attribution. So that means without the knowledge of the origin, okay, from where acknowledgement of the source from where you took the idea or story, or reuse the image or any other data table. So you should acknowledge them. Without acknowledge, so that will be considered as a plagiarism, right? Now, what are the various forms? This part also we have talked about little bit. I will just remind you. If there is a verbatim, that one type of plagiarism called verbatim. Verbatim is you just ditto copy from somewhere, or a mosaic plagiarism. That means you took some piece and again you little bit modified only done, right? So that means in the short text segments from different source without indicating references. Okay, so that called mosaic plagiarism. Or you know the paraphrasing or translate without source, right? Paraphrasing, sometimes you take a so large content from previously published things, or if you are translating something, Google Translator are there, just language translate and copy, but author name you have not put up, that also called as a plagiarism. Self-plagiarism, so that means the reuse of your own work. Here I'm just giving you some of the example. So the paper one written like something, even though it was a previously accepted as a fact, this is only a misconception. So now again, you just copy the same thing, and let's say you are working in a direction of the project, and similar kind of works you are producing and publication during that period, consciously or unconsciously, you are repeating the same content paper 2, 3, 4, and so on. So that that called self plagiarism, right? Also, incorrect source of citation and reference. Sometimes you might be unknowingly, it happens actually. Sometimes you first draft you made and put some reference, and during modification, and you forgot to change that in proper place. So that incorrect source of citation, or the text you have putting, that may not be finding, or data may not be finding in that particular article. So then we need to think about the how we can write a paper or articles or report a research findings with uh, plagiarism free, right? And from this course, you should get some idea so that when you are pursuing your PhD work, and you should able to properly represent it, right? Without uh, this kind of wrong practice, right? So here is the some students, they are discussing among themselves. My teacher said you don't have to cite a common knowledge, and then other students, how do you know that what are the things should be fall in that? So the common knowledge when you talk about, actually this is a part when you think about the look, which are the components should not be belong to plagiarism, right? So when you are thinking about the making to plagiarism free, then you need to know what are the categories, what are the type of things should really fall on that one, right? So that's what there is a two components, main components, something called uh, common knowledge, or second component called proofreading, revision, and translations. So these are the two things do not fall in the plagiarism. So if you want to make it a plagiarism free, so then these things will not be counted. You need to consider the other things. Okay. And that's what the question come. How do I know what counts a common knowledge, right? So this is the first component, and will be in details we'll be discussing in the following uh, slides. Okay, now here is we go. So what is not categorized as a plagiarism, right? So first one is called the common knowledge. So what is common knowledge? The knowledge that everyone knows, right? So I try to give you some picture over here and cartoon on where it says, I know that you knows it's going to rain, and where is your umbrella right now? The other side telling that I knew that you know it is going to rain and would bring and would bring an umbrella. I could say, right? So that means this is the common things. Both of them know. I know it's going to rain today. So this is a common knowledge. Both the persons, but still they are saying but different way. But this is example of the perfect example of the common knowledge, right? Also, common knowledge when you talk about the some ideas that have their own authors. For some ideas or works, they have a author, right? And so you cannot determine the work from which they come, right? Now these ideas are said to be a common knowledge. So from here they are coming again. If you want to dig out, right, try to research on the same thing. So that is nothing you are newly adding on them. That's a common knowledge everybody uses, right? So that means when you have something like the common knowledge components in your writing, you cannot you cannot state you can state without you can state them without referencing a sources. I am convinced I use a like let's say um, Einstein constant or gas constants are. So that value everybody know. So when I'm using that gas constant in while writing my research, then you did not to state again this has been defined by or find out by the Einstein or somebody else. So that kind of common knowledge is everywhere, and that is well accepted, and well known person has done that. So you don't have to consider that. So in that case, you can without referencing the source, you can still write that one. Okay. So most of the works, indeed, readers are probably already familiar with such ideas. That means the common idea, common knowledge. So they they are not falling in this category of the plagiarism, right? They are plagiarism free. Now, why do you not need to know about this common knowledge? Because it is a beneficial. So while writing an introduction, discussion, or even in concluding remark you are writing, okay, as an overthrow to other ideas where your own or reproduce. So some research you find out and something you find out that is aligned to some previous work somebody has done, and then actually you also verifying them the what they find in that line of research. So your all similar things are you are finding out. So in that case you say so and so what we find out that is aligned to somebody else. So that two-way you are benefiting the scientific community. You are proving yourself what you have done that is not nonsense work. That's something is sensible work. Okay, and also you are a facilitating that somebody is finding also correct actually, right? So that's the uh, uh, that is the power of the common knowledge. Now the second one called proofreading uh, or revision or even translation. So this is also do not fall in the category of plagiarism, right? So those have published a paper, they little bit have idea. The proofreading is very important component while publishing. After finishing everything, then journal send you your manuscript in their journal format, and they ask you to proofread. So that means they will ask what you have to do there. You have to do a spelling check. You have to do a punctuation, grammatical there is error, or typographical any error, accuracy of the data, graph you represented that properly put up. So after putting, because they copy the material from your manuscript, and while doing that, they may have done some mistake by unknowingly, and they ask you to proofread it, and second chance you are getting to make a error free your article, right? So this proofreading process, so that is your own work you are doing. So there should not be anything called plagiarism. So that should be plagiarism free until unless the content you already taken that is make you plagiarism free, right? So that's one. So the proofreading, revision, translation, this including the is a review the article or typographical adjustment you are doing in your own work. Now another called translate the works. Nowadays, might be some country using their own language to write the article. Chinese or Japanese sometimes they write actually their own language, but use the translator to convert that article in English, the common language used for the scientific communication. So we'll be talking about in future next week actually more details about the language. Okay, and but translation, although you are doing the translation, uh, somebody's work, but you need to mention that who is the author of that. So until unless you uh, do not avoid the putting their name or giving the credit to others, so there is nothing is wrong. So translation work does not fall in the plagiarism, provided you put their name on that. Okay. So that's what we say, need to mention those. Also, sometime somebody may help you in your work while generating idea. You discuss with senior or other colleagues, friends, right? And also while performing the research, then you also discuss with someone else to make it better result, right? Or if some area you don't have that much depth of knowledge, then what you try to do, you try to contact somebody and then discuss with them, and then you write your paper or pursue your research. So literally taking somebody's help, right? So that means during that period also you need to acknowledge them. That's there is a section in the uh, article, while write your article, there is a part called acknowledgement part. So you acknowledge person, acknowledge any society, acknowledge any funding agency. So whoever help in whatever way, you properly acknowledge them. So then that will be free from the plagiarism matter, right? Now then, what are the way you can avoid the plagiarism while writing the academic research, right? So you find the result and then try to publish it and try to make it a plagiarism free. So there are few method I indicated over here, 4 only. So there are first component called citation bibliography. Okay, before that, just give you the key solution to make it free plagiarism. First one is called distinguish someone else's idea from your own idea. It's a challenging work actually. Now, this kind of things comes in mind when you write actually paper or when you uh, generate the idea, putting up the proposal. So you have to entirely things has to make differently. It should looks differently. Secondly, you have to always refer to the source. From here you took. You took it from article. You took it from somebody's discussion over somewhere, right? So source in the form of reference, you need to put it up in particular way so that that can be traced it up, right? The the particular points you've taken from where the idea generation, that is called ideation in the proposal, research proposal. So you properly put it that so that somebody when read, they can cross verify it. So reference would be also in the proper manner, right? So when you talk about the citation of referencing somebody, then obviously we need to know about the citation, what is citation and bibliography, so that if you know this thing clearly and while writing your research, you properly put up the resources from here to, then you try to make it the plagiarism free writing, right? So citation, what is citation and what is bibliography? This is two words, right? These two components actually belong to reference section, referencing somebody's work or something called source from here to picture, right? So what is citation and what is bibliography? I took it to one of my papers and just to give you idea. So this is the part I taken from the introduction part. It may not necessary the citation could be anywhere. So you put up some number. This number is make it circle. Even here one is here 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. This is the number. Now what this number? This number corresponds to something. This number actually reflected from here in the reference section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you for one reference one, this is the bibliography details, right? And that bibliography details, that's what here is citation and bibliography. So citation is the components you put up in the text, whether it is in the introduction component, whether it is a methodology component, whether it is discussion component. Inside the text, you put up like this reference number, and against that reference number, what is the bibliography details? That means the from where the articles details are coming. It is a book or it is journal or it is some kind of reference book or book chapter. So you write details over here or whatever software you use. Sometimes we indicate them. Okay, so that's the two component of your citation and bibliography. Now, third component is to make it the plagiarism free is the paraphrasing. Because it is a very important component, paraphrasing. Because while writing, most of the time, sometimes student actually get result very quickly. So if you try 1 or 2 to 3 times, so within a month you can actually produce one paper work. But while writing your paper or article, that takes quite long time. And that's how many scientists die after few years because of that is one component. Because when you write your own language, that is not easy job. That is a very challenging and taxing, a challenging job actually. Because while you writing this on some line, you need to think about it, you process it, your mind has to be processed, write it again, rewrite, modify. There is a many components. Once you start writing one paper, they will see how difficult in writing. But if you take care of what are the things I am discussing over here, you will find a very easy one actually. The first paper you will find very tough job. But once you trust first paper learn, then it will be very easy for you. It's not that difficult job. But it takes a very long time. You need to be very patient. Right? Now what paraphrasing means? Paraphrase means completely reworking the passage, I would say is a sentence by rewording, okay, reordering and reordering and rearranging the information and rewriting it in your own, right? So this is not just a simply changing the words. I just give here just one of the example taken from the net, paraphrasing example. This is the original text. Only one was famous for his delicious candy. Children and adults loves to eat it, right? Now, when you want to rewrite this one and want to make it like others, only one Wonka was known throughout the world because people enjoyed eating the tasty candy he made. See how the theme is similar, but while writing, you're taking care everything in this component. In the reverse also, sometimes there is a long writing and you could shortcut it. And there also the same thing has to be followed up, right? So here are the some few tips how to work on this paraphrasing. Okay, one is called making use of the synonym. Nowadays, word is there. You just sometimes take it and right click on it, and they'll find out the suitable like word. You can apply that one, but sentence structure has to be changed. I'll be talking about it again. Next slide. Playing around the word with playing around with word forms. So here actually you change the word forms adjective to nouns or noun to verb. Moment you do that one, then automatically you are forced to actually change the structure of the sentence. It has to be done. Otherwise it does not make a sense. So that is one practice you can do, right? You change this kind of adjective, noun, verb, then making around them. Okay. Another way is working around with different sentence structure, right? So sometimes you are using active sentence, then you make it a passive sentence, or passive is there, then make it the active sentence. But generally, the active sentence are avoided in the general scientific writing. Okay, so be careful. But if somewhere they required, actually you can use that. Right. The expanding and last one is the expanding and defining the words. So sometimes some shortcut way has to be written, but you can even elaborate it and make it like your own writing, right? So this is one tips belongs to the paraphrasing. Now fourth component is the summarizing, right? The summarizing means you try to reduce the text, source text. There is the example. Sometimes you read a article and then you try to make it your own way of writing, shortcut them. So that is called summarizing your text. So to summarize the material source, you can avoid using too many direct quotes and paraphrasing large portion of the original text. So too many quotes you cannot take. Now, what are the tips to do the very good summarizing? Scan the text. You need to read it carefully again and again, properly scan them so that you can avoid uh, for writing any repetitive writing. So you need to understand. That's what you need to scan again and again. Identify the main points and highlight them with a highlighter. Okay. And then note it down those main points carefully by taking care of the verbatim copy. Okay. And with the help of your notes, write a summary in your own words. So take the same things, note it down, small piece, and then try to connect your own language. And that's done. You make it freeing from this one. And that is just sometimes challenging, very challenging work. I I must say, because everybody find that kind of difficulties while writing, right? But once you find the rhythm, learn the things, then you are okay. Everybody go through that, so there is no issue. You will be able to do that, and that's what you are mean to hear, right? So proofread your abstract. Once you've done everything, and then read the abstract again and again, and try to again modify little, then eventually it will come down as a plagiarism free. Do not forget to include the references. So when you summarizing the things, you don't put lot of inverted comma. Sometimes if taking the full length of write up from somewhere, you mention the author and put the inverted comma. So, but throughout the paper, you cannot do that one. Only one times you can do that, right? So you put a reference, then that's okay, but don't use too much inverted comma text copy and put it in the comma, right? So these are the few tips you can apply in order to make it. Some additional tips also I'd like to discuss with you. So now already when we talk about the plagiarism, then we learn from there what are the reason uh, for this kind of plagiarism practice. That is one of the components we discussed about that time. If somebody find a difficulties in writing English, somebody might not have time to write it. Somebody is under pressure to put up publication. So these are the few components that make somebody to do this kind of wrong practice, right? But that's what, if you know what plagiarism means and how that fall, then you are okay. So here is some tips like that. Plan all tasks and prepare to spend double time. So whenever you have to put up somewhere something, you just plan ahead so that you have a time. Sometimes we run off our time and do that kind of things, right? So you plan ahead so that you will be okay. Next one, consult your colleague and seniors. So you have a lab seniors, right? So talk to them. Sometimes we also learn from the senior actually. Initial days when you have a language barrier, both speaking and writing, then we write or we talk to senior, and then only put up our manuscript to our supervisor. Because of the first paper you write, if you do like that practice, you get to learn from some component, basic components from your senior or lab or any other friends, and then actually you then send it to your supervisor. Then you will be learning further from the supervisor, okay, and then you are okay. Moment you write a few papers, then you also get to learn, the rhythm how to write it, right? So resort to learn if you find the knowledge uh, is inadequate. Sometimes while writing, you don't find a language, writing word, because you might have a lack of knowledge, because new finding comes, you have to discuss critically them. Then that time nobody know here it in that components you'll find out. Then you have to put up your own language. That means your knowledge is very important in that sense, right? So that's what you have to do that. Inculcate a habit of reading. It's a very important one actually. So today we have all laptops or mobiles, so you most of the time spend over there. But while doing that, please try to read a lot. During first few years, 2 years, during your PhD, you need to read very, because you not only need to know the subject, but also you need to know what is going on other side. You have to acquire a sufficient knowledge, and that knowledge comes from the reading also. And reading habit is very important one. Then only you can think about pursuing your research or continue your PhD work. Otherwise, it is difficult. It is a massive work for you, and that eventually put up difficulties to your supervisor as well. So try to read as much as possible. So bring your reading habit. Okay. Always cite ideas you have borrowed all the time. Plagiarism free. You want to make the plagiarism free. There's none of the slides I talk about without cite somebody where you have taken the sources, right? Even your ideas, if they are from your previous work, if your idea generated from your previous work, state that also. So that makes the completely free of plagiarism, right? So these are the few things. Please keep it mind in your keep it in mind, so that eventually you should be able to write a plagiarism free research article, or whatever the research findings you have. Okay. Okay. So I think we just end now. Here is the some of the uh, questions. I just read it out quickly because running of time. How to write a plagiarism free research, or what I can do, I'll just